Washington Journal continues.
We're going to have a discussion now about the gender pay gap here in the United States. Our guests at the table today are Kate Bond, who is an economist for the Washington Center for Equitable Growth. Good morning.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
We're also joined by Genevieve Wood, who is senior advisor at the Heritage Foundation. Good morning to you as well.
Good morning, Paul.
Let's start with Kate Bond. A little bit of definition here. What exactly are we talking about with a gender pay gap? And take us into some of the numbers as you see them.
Yeah, sure. So the gender pay gap is one of the remarkably consistent features of our labor market. It's been about 20 cents on the dollar, which means women on average across the economy, when they're working full-time year-round, earn about 20% less than men. And it's been pretty much at that level, around that level, for 40 years. That being said, the things that explain it have changed somewhat over 40 years. It used to be more explained by women having fewer years of work experience or sort of having lower levels of education. And now, as women have caught up on work experience and education, is more greatly explained by occupational segregation.
What is occupational segregation?
Yeah, it's good. I'm an economist. I apologize.
Sure.
So occupational segregation is when people are segregated into different jobs based on their demographic characteristics. So women tend to be overrepresented in certain jobs that tend to be lower paid. A lot of these jobs are care work jobs, so jobs like being a teacher, a home health aide, working as a nurse. They're really good jobs, but they tend to be paid less considering both the experience these workers have and the value they contribute to the economy.
Genevieve Wood of the Heritage Foundation, tell us first what you've heard from Kate Bond so far, but speak to that 20% differentiation. How do you see that figure?
Well, you're going to be surprised to hear Kate and I may agree on a lot of things here. I agree with the way that she framed a lot of that. When you do talk about on average, when you look at men and women in the workforce, it's true that there is a difference. But when you look at women and men that are in the same positions and have the same background in terms of levels in the workforce, same education levels, same numbers of years of experience in the same positions, the gender gap all but disappears. So I think it really does come down to comparing people in the same jobs with the same experience and not saying, well, just on average, all women in the workforce versus all men in the workforce. That's when you get the gap.
Here are some of the details. Again, it's payscale.com, the uncontrolled gender pay gap. This measures median salary for all men and all women. You can see 79 cents per dollar. Then what they call the controlled gender pay gap, which measures median salary for men and women with the same job and qualifications. It's 98 cents for every $1 earned by men. Genevieve Wood, your perspective on that comparison?
Well, again, I think this, as opposed to having a gender gap, there's really a choices gap, and men and women in many cases make different choices. I mean, look, if you go back to, the past 10 years, you look at women and men going to college. Women at every level of education, bachelor's, master's degrees, doctorate degrees, are earning more degrees than men. I think the last study I saw was around 2013 or 14, and for every 100 men who graduated with a college degree, you had 140 women who were graduating with a college degree. So a lot of the education gap is certainly no longer there. And then so you start looking at, well, what do men and women major in college? And what you study in school and what you major in often determines what you end up doing in terms of employment. There are big differences in what most men tend to major in, petroleum engineering, for example, versus what a lot of things that women major in, which can be more what some people would call the softer sciences, teaching, education, healthcare, and the like. And whether we like it or not, sometimes someone who's a nurse is not making the same as a petroleum engineer. Now, we as a society may say that's a bad thing. We think nurses ought to be making more, but that's just the reality of where the labor market is.